You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk, or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
We believe in the American way, and we build this country called the USA, and we fly our flag because we're proud and free, we're Americans. Red, white, and blue is our way of life. We never back down from a challenge or a fight. Nature provides, God gives the rights, we're Americans. We fish the waters and we hunt the lands. We forge the steel with our own two hands. With what we've got, we do the best we can, we're Americans.
This is Rio of Madison Rising, and you're listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
It's time now for the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show. Now, here's Grouchy.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the program. It is so good to be back with you. Sorry about last week, but we had to take care of some business. Programming reminder, following me tonight, Jesse's POV, followed by the Stafford Voice. So do yourself a favor and stay tuned to KLRN Radio. You are right now in stage 2 of your Wednesday night Grand Slam of conservative talk. Now, before we jump into everything else that I've got mapped out for us, as usual, we want to cover some of the other things going on around in the news, around the world, or here at home. Of course, today, the passing of the Reverend Billy Graham, arguably, or actually probably not even arguably, I'm just going to go ahead and say he's the world's most influential evangelist. He's touched more people than I would say even any pope has. Okay? I know there's probably some Catholics out there that are getting a little upset with me over that comment, but you're talking about a man who preached in 185 nations over his lifetime. And he was a humble man. He didn't say that he never did anything, but he made sure that all the credit for everything he did went to God. And you just don't see that like you should anymore. So Billy Graham was 99 years old. And what else is going on? Let's see. Yesterday, Mobile, Alabama police officer Justin Billa was killed in the line of duty, leaving behind a wife and a 1-year-old son. I just watched the honor procession of his body being escorted to the funeral home. Also today, Maryland police said that 14-year veteran Corporal Mujahid Ramazuddin was the officer that was killed on scene there in Maryland. Just heartbreaking watching this happen to police officers, you know, doing their job to protect all of us. And knowing what's happening to them. It's terrible. Also today, Trump holds listening sessions on mass shooting so he can be regaled with proven false stories of people being able to walk in and buy a gun in 5 minutes and walk out with it with no background check. We know those stories are false. They're lies. They're blatant lies. They're peddled by the left. They're dumped on these emotional kids. These kids are a wreck. And you know, God love them. Their voices should be heard. They should. They have a right to speak what's on their mind. That doesn't necessarily mean that we should be jumping through a flaming hoop to change laws and policy to cater to what they want, but they do have a right to be heard, and they should be heard, and they should not be harassed or trolled over it. You can take their ideas to task, but you don't have to attack them personally to do it. Also today, Naples, Florida, which as the crow flies is almost just like due west of Parkland on the other side of the Everglades. You can look on a map and see. Literally, there's a road that goes right across the Everglades and goes almost straight to this high school in Naples, Florida, where a student was arrested today for bringing a knife to school, along with a list of students who he wanted to attack. Luckily, nobody was hurt. But this young man is now under arrest and will have to answer for his crime. And while we're on the story of Florida, let's jump straight into this hot button topic. And it is the hot button topic of late. The left claims that they want to have a national talk about guns. But I contend that statement by itself needs to be looked at. The political left wasted little to no time in screaming for gun control following the school shooting in Parkland. And, pardon my voice, for those of you who don't know a lot about me, a lot of my early childhood was spent in Dade and Broward counties in Florida. So Parkland is somewhere I am quite familiar with. Although I never lived there, I do know the area and I know it well. I've lived all over. I've lived in several different parts of Miami. I've also lived in Davie in Broward County. So I do know the area. Davie is just south of Parkland. It's not a far drive. And in typical fashion, the left blames the tool that was used instead of the shooter. Oh, sure. The shooter would have never killed 17 people without the use of an AR-15 rifle. My reply to that is how well planned this terrorist attack was. And it was a terrorist attack, make no mistake. Domestic terrorism is still terrorism. With how well planned this attack was, it's a miracle that he only killed 17 people. This guy made it to the third floor of a school that had guards because he knew exactly what was going to happen. He knew exactly when it was going to happen, and he knew exactly how it was going to happen. Because while he was at that school, I'm sure they practiced the same drill over and over and over. Now, did they ever practice for a live shooter? I don't know. I do not know what their policy is on that. The school system where I live now does not. And to my knowledge, they don't have a set-in-stone plan, which is actually a good thing, because no plan should be set in stone. You should be able to alter a plan. To tell you what I'm getting at here, one of the schools where I live is across the highway from a forestry ranger's tower. Now, if somebody were inclined, they could climb that tower with high-powered rifles and lay on the perch at the top, call a bomb threat into the school, and watch the students flow out the doors right out onto the lawn of the property there in front of the school, on the side of the school, or around in the back of the school. From this tower, you would be able to start mowing people down. But I've never seen them practice a drill that alternates where they evacuate to. It's the same every time. And that worries me. It worries me that the schools, they have to have this plan legally. They have to have a plan. And they make this plan and they practice this plan. But it's the same plan over and over and over. If you get in your car every morning to go to work and you pull out of your driveway at 7:15 in the morning and you stop at the same convenience store 3 blocks away at 7:20 and get the same cup of coffee and the same newspaper and pay the same person behind the counter that's working there every morning, get back in your car and continue on the same route to your workplace, if I wanted to eliminate somebody, I would learn their habits. I would learn what they do over and over and over again without fail, because then I would know where they're going to be, when they're going to be there, and what they're going to be doing and how vulnerable they are. Our schools need to adapt. This is not the 1950s. It's not even the 1970s anymore. Not the 80s. Now the left, led by Senator Dianne Feinstein, whatever you want to call her, says that an 18-year-old should not be allowed to purchase an AR-style rifle. Her argument is that if you can't buy a beer or a handgun, you shouldn't be able to buy an AR-style rifle. Now, I'm willing to have this discussion, but I want to have the entire discussion. If somebody wants to argue for raising the age of majority, I'm all about it. Let's sit down and have that talk. But you better understand what that means, because that means no more 18, 19, and 20-year-olds in the military if you want to go to the age of 21, which is her proposal. Okay? That means no more under 21 being allowed to go in the military. That means no more under 21 being allowed to, what else is there? Vote. Let's say, how about voting? Yeah. Let's keep the argument going. No more under 21 allowed to move away to college on their own. And that's a huge responsibility. I would say at least on level with owning a rifle. How about abortion? It's certainly, if you can't buy a rifle anymore, you shouldn't be allowed to end a life inside of you. I mean, this is the slippery slope they're trying to navigate right now. They want to pick and choose what 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds can and can't do. I mean, if you want to have the age of majority discussion, can we even try you as an adult if you're under 21 anymore? I mean, come on, let's get down to it. Tobacco's already there. You got to be 21 to get tobacco. You got to be 21 to get alcohol. If you want to have the argument over age of majority, we have to have the whole argument. The discussion has to be wide open.
They wouldn't like my response to age of majority question.
Well, I know. I get it. Now, look, we train these 18-year-olds when they go in the military, and I was one of them. I was absolutely one of them. But we train these 18-year-olds to use fully automatic weapons, handguns, and even other weapons, depending on their job specialty code. I was trained how to fire Laws rockets. I know what they do. It's the contention of Feinstein that these young people shouldn't be allowed to buy a semi-automatic sporting-style rifle, likening it to the automatic weapons used in the military, knowing full well that she's lying when she says they're the same thing. So my argument is that if we're going to scratch 18-year-olds from being adults, and even 19 and 20-year-olds from being adults, that should preclude them from registering for a draft. That should preclude them from serving in a military. That should preclude them from voting. That should preclude them from being able to get an abortion. If we're going to have the discussion, we need to have it all. The AR platform rifle is the same function-wise as a Ruger Mini 14. They fire the same caliber bullet, depending on, what you purchase. You can get a slightly larger caliber, but you can also get a larger caliber hunting rifle too. Okay? So for the sake of this argument, let's say both of them by default fire the .223 round. One discharge of bullet per trigger pull. Same on both rifles. One just looks scarier than the other. There's no functional difference between a Ruger Mini 14 hunting rifle and an AR-15. There is no functional difference. One just looks like the military counterpart. That does not help it fire any faster. It does not help the user in any way use it any better than they could a regular rifle. It's how it looks. This is their problem. Okay? As I said, moving away, going to college at 18, huge responsibility. You're out on your own for the first time in your life. But if you're not even responsible enough to own a gun to defend yourself, why should you be allowed to leave home? Okay? So by virtue of level of responsibility, we have no more 18 to 20-year-olds in our military buying rifles, voting, having abortions, going to college. What are we going to do with these young people? If they aren't mature enough to exercise their constitutional rights, what should we as a society do with them until they reach an acceptable age? Should we extend the education process by a few years? That probably wouldn't hurt, but what are we going to do? We're going to go to 7 years of high school? Will we extend on the elementary side? Make elementary education last longer. This is where I'd be in favor of it, because they shouldn't be allowed to get to a secondary school until they know how to read. I don't care how old they are. They should be able to read, write, and do simple math before they make it to a secondary school. Point blank, end of story. There's so much that would have to be done to give in to these ridiculous demands from the left. They're only interested in taking your rights and skewering them in some perverted version of what they consider acceptable. They like to tell us that we don't need an AR-15 rifle. They like to tell us that there's no situation where using one of those rifles is necessary. To that I say it's a good thing there's no founding document called the Bill of Needs. It's called the Bill of Rights. And it outlines our freedoms. It doesn't grant them, nor does our government grant them. Government doesn't grant us the right to keep and bear arms. We're born with that right. The Bill of Rights serves to keep the government from infringing upon those rights outlined within it. The fact of the matter is that the political left, and even worse, the general public left, don't want to have an honest discussion. If they did, they wouldn't be playing politics with the whole situation to begin with. Right now, They're parading these surviving kids from Parkland through the media with overtly leading questions, assigning blame to everything from the gun maker to the NRA and the gun itself, but not the actual shooter. Far be it from the left to honor the idea of personal responsibility that goes with freedom. If everybody actually took responsibility for their own lives, accepted the consequences of their actions and decisions were theirs and theirs alone to deal with, the left would lose a lot of their grip on people's lives. They aren't really interested in having an honest discussion about any topic they claim to want to have an honest discussion about. What they're interested in is simply exercising control over our lives to their satisfaction. The discussions they want to have, they want to define the parameters of. They refuse to address anything outside the area that they want addressed. So if anybody from the left is listening and wants to have an actual honest discussion about this topic, reach out to me. I'll listen. But you in turn have to listen as well. And be prepared to have the whole discussion. And be prepared to admit to some things you might not even realize you're advocating for. There were so many balls dropped in the case of this Parkland shooter. State social workers, mental health counselors, school administrators, police, and FBI all received warnings about his declining mental health and his penchant for violence. But instead of taking decisive action to help this young man, they allowed him to continue along a path that led to this shooting. Records show that social workers, mental health counselors, and school administrators both documented and dismissed warning signs during home visits and in-school evaluations. A quote from one of the reports. Mr. Cruz stated that he has plans to go out and buy a gun. This is an investigator with Florida's Department of Children and Families. He wrote this on September 28th of 2016. 4 days after the shooter turned 18 and 6 months before he legally purchased the rifle. He also added in the report that it is unknown what he is buying the gun for. Police visited the family home dozens of times, but there was no indication of what action, if any, officers took. As recently as January, the FBI received a tip about Cruz and his desire to kill people, but the information was never forwarded for investigation. Cruz's lawyers are already saying they plan to fight against the death penalty by arguing that he was failed by the community in general because they failed to heed the many warning signs. After learning that Cruz was cutting himself in late 2016 following a breakup with his girlfriend, a Department of Child and Families investigator became, quote-unquote, concerned about Cruz talking about wanting to purchase a gun and feeling depressed. They actually logged this into his record. Investigators noted that his mental health diagnoses, which seemed to manifest in expressions of hate, including Nazi symbols on his book bag, along with racial slurs. The DCF investigator didn't check for Cruz, or didn't check Cruz for cutting scars, quote unquote, because he was wearing long sleeves, annotated in Cruz's record after a home visit. At this time, his mother assured DCF that he did not have a gun and that he was meeting regularly with his mental health counselor. Now, it's noteworthy that had any of these facilities actually followed through and had Cruz committed to a 72-hour watch under the Baker Law, Florida state law would have prohibited him from purchasing any firearm at that point. That's right, Senator Feinstein. There's already a law in place to prohibit the mentally ill from purchasing firearms. It's time for the left to stop grandstanding. It's time for them to stop with all the false narratives and the exploitation of the survivors. I and many on the conservative side of the argument are ready to have an honest conversation about each and every aspect of what Senator Feinstein is proposing. The real question is she ready for the same? All right, folks, we are, at the bottom of the hour already. We're gonna roll a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue with some other stories that are hot in the news. Do yourself a favor, stay tuned. We'll be back in about 3.
Oh, but ain't that America? You and me, ain't that America? Something to see, baby. Ain't that America? Home of the free, yeah.
My son was in the Army during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
But ain't that America? You and me, ain't that America? Something to see, baby. Ain't that America? Home of the free, yeah.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hope the break wasn't too long for you. Programming reminder coming up next, Jesse's POV, followed by the Stafford Voice on KLRN Radio. So do yourself a favor and stay tuned. All right, so the White House said Friday that President Trump has been fully briefed on the grand jury indictment charging 13 Russian individuals and 3 Russian companies with federal crimes for seeking to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said in a statement that Trump is glad to see the special counsel's investigation further indicates that there was no collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia, and that the outcome of the election was not changed or affected. President Trump says it is more important than ever before to come together as Americans. We cannot allow those seeking to sow confusion, discord, and rancor to be successful. It's time we stop the outlandish partisan attacks, wild and false allegations, and far-fetched theories which only serve to further the agendas of bad actors like Russia and do nothing to protect the principles of our institutions. We must unite as Americans to protect the integrity of our democracy and our elections. So says the statement. Russia, for their part, according to the investigation, started their anti-U.S. campaign in 2014, long before Trump announced that he would run for president. The results of the election were not impacted. The Trump campaign did nothing wrong. And the Department of Justice announced that the grand jury indictment Friday as part of the special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation. So the indictment said the defendants posed as Americans and communicated with unwitting individuals associated with the Trump campaign. The defendants did not reveal that they were Russian. Well, that would kind of be like how they pull it off, right? I mean, hello, I am Ivan from Russia. I wish to tell you who to vote for in your upcoming election. Yeah, that goes over real well. We all love being told by other countries what to do. We don't even like our parents telling us what to do. So, some defendants posing as U.S. persons and without revealing their Russian association communicated with unwitting individuals associated with the Trump campaign and with other political activists to seek to coordinate political activities. The other political activists that they're referring to were the Democrat campaigns. That's what they don't want you to hear. The indictment further stated that the Russians organized rallies both for and against Trump. Hello. Stated that during the election, the Russian defendants' operations included supporting the presidential campaign of then-candidate Trump and disparaging Hillary Clinton. However, after the election, they both supported and attacked him. For example, the indictment stated, in or around November 2016, defendants and their co-conspirators organized a rally in New York through one organization-controlled group designed to show your support for President-elect Donald Trump, held on or about November 12, 2016. At the same time, the same defendants and co-conspirators through another organization organized a rally called Trump is Not My President. This just shows you they're just trying to rip the country apart. So collusion is dead, but mark my words, they are still going to go after Trump's inner circle. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they're going to really target Kushner in the near future. Some people like that. Some people don't. I don't know whether I like it or not. That's just my bet. They want Kushner gone. I think they're going to find a way to get Kushner gone. Or, maybe they cross the line and Trump decides that enough is enough with the special counsel. Who knows? Who knows? Now that the collusion story is dead, do we really need the special counsel anymore? A whole nother question to be asked. Okay, so here we got to talk about this because this was interesting. The White House's indication of support for a bipartisan bill that would bolster reporting of violent criminals to the FBI's background check database in an attempt to stop them from buying firearms appears to have President Trump on a collision course with House conservatives. That is because House conservatives are unwilling to sign on to even a narrow background check bill unless it is coupled with a so-called concealed carry legislation backed by the NRA, which would have the net effect of loosening gun controls and thus lose Democratic support, according to this report. Now, the report's from Politico, so you have to understand Politico is going to word things to lean it a little to the left. If Trump tries to decouple the bill, which House GOP leaders had reportedly promised conservatives would not happen, it would almost assuredly antagonize his pro-gun base and GOP allies in the House, and Speaker Paul Ryan might not even let it come up for a vote. Democrats are opposed to concealed carry legislation because it would allow gun owners with such permits in their home states to bring their weapons across state lines, which they should be able to do. The Senate passage soon, or sources say that the Senate passage soon of only the background checks bill would add penalties for federal agencies that fail to follow the reporting rules and encourage more states to comply is a real possibility. These chances have been bolstered by outrage at yet another mass shooting at a school and support from such conservative newspapers. The Wall Street Journal is hardly conservative, Politico, where an editorial said the House should allow the concealed carry provision to die. The House Freedom Caucus has already sounded that alarm against this happening, as its founder, Ohio Representative Jim Jordan, said a vote on the background check bill alone would allow bureaucrats and administrators to take away an individual's Second Amendment liberties, and something that fundamentally you've got to have a court that makes a decision to give due process to American citizens. If the background checks bill alone passes, Democrats have already indicated it would barely begin to address the nation's epidemic of gun violence. But if Trump agreed to more serious gun control measures, as the White House says he is considering, he apparently would be met by fierce Republican resistance. This means there exists the possibility of the same type stalemate that has hampered other such efforts following previous school shootings. So, we have all that going on. Let me shoot past this next thing to get to what the White House has asked the Justice Department to look into. Bump stocks are worth a lot more thanks to an announcement by President Trump. The devices which help increase the rate of fire of a semi-automatic gun to mimic that of nearly a fully automatic firearm may become the subject of a ban proposed by Trump Tuesday afternoon. On Gunbroker, a firearms auction platform, bump stock prices quickly rose. One listing with a $399 price tag said, "Get them while you can, guys." The retail price for a comparable device is less than $200. Other auction prices range from just over retail to as much as $1,000. Now, if you're not familiar with a bump stock, it's the device that the Las Vegas shooter used to allow rapid firing with his semi-automatic weapons. It was not used in Parkland. The same type gun, the AR-style platform, was used in both shootings, just as it was in the 2012 shooting at Sandy Hook in Connecticut. Now, again, this is just a choice of weapon. People buy it because it's attractive to them. there is no additional functionality of an AR platform rifle versus a regular semi-automatic hunting rifle. I can achieve the same thing as a bump stock with a piece of elastic. Literally, I can do the same thing with a piece of elastic. It's not that hard. If I can find out how to do it, anybody can find out how to do it.
Great. Now you're going to make them ban elastic.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to ban everything. Okay? The fact of the matter is, look, I'll go to where I was earlier. If the guy didn't have access to a gun, I could walk into a school, pull a fire alarm, and if I've got 2 machetes in my hands, one in each hand, I guarantee you that I can kill 17 people with 2 machetes. It's nothing that I would ever do. It's nothing that I would ever have a desire to do. But I know what I've been trained to do in certain aspects of my life, and I know how to handle those things. And I guarantee you that in a situation of mass confusion where there are bodies flying everywhere, I can do that with 2 machetes. I could do it with 2 pocket knives. It's just not that hard. So Trump says, I signed a memorandum directing the Attorney General, to propose regulations to ban all devices that turn legal weapons into machine guns. I expect that these critical regulations will be finalized very soon, Trump said. And of course, bump stock prices also rose after the Las Vegas attack for fear of a Republican Congress might regulate them out of existence. Now a Republican pro-gun president has said he might do it himself. Gun Owners of America Executive Director Eric Pratt said that this is a gross infringement of Second Amendment rights. He argued that such a ban could be extended to triggers, magazines, or semi-automatic firearms. And while Trump ran as a pro-gun candidate, this action does not appear to line up with his campaign rhetoric. You mean a politician lied to somebody? Shocking. Absolutely shocking. Some of the students that survived Parkland are calling for tougher gun control laws after, living through that massacre last week. But another school shooting survivor is going in a different direction. In Colorado, House Minority Leader Patrick Neville, who was a student at Columbine at the time of the 1991 shooting there, has again introduced legislation to remove limitations on concealed carry in K-12 schools. Under state law, concealed carry permit holders may bring firearms onto school property, but must keep them locked inside their vehicles. Neville is looking to change this and actually allow properly permitted concealed carry holders to wear their firearms inside schools. I would very much like to see a conversation happen between Patrick Neville and the surviving students that have been in Tallahassee trying to coerce Florida lawmakers unsuccessfully to ban semi-automatic rifles. Students are calling for tougher gun control laws, but kudos to Florida's legislature for knowing the difference of right and wrong here. Neville has introduced this bill annually in Colorado since he was elected in 2014. He said the current law creates a so-called gun-free zone in every K-12 public school, and this act would allow every law-abiding citizen who holds a concealed carry permit issued from their chief law enforcement officer the right to carry concealed in order to defend themselves and, most importantly, our children from the worst-case scenarios. The Republican lawmaker has argued that more of his classmates would have survived the attack if some faculty or parent that was on campus had been armed. 12 students and one teacher were killed by 2 gunmen at the high school in Littleton, Colorado. Now, that's a powerful message, and one that should be listened to. It really should. I don't, as I said earlier, these young people in Florida, they survived a traumatic experience. Their emotions are still on a roller coaster. They have every right to be heard. They have every right to their belief. They don't have every right to just change policy because of that, though. This is how our republic works. Welcome to the big discussion. You want to pull a chair up to the big table? Come on. But don't cry and whine about it. You got to stand up, have your voice, and follow the process. That's how it works. So, again, don't malign these young people. They should have a voice. It shouldn't be the only voice that's heard, though. That's what I'm saying. I'll take them to task on their ideas. But I'm not going to belittle what they went through, and I'm not going to chastise them, and I'm not going to treat them like they're just stupid. We need to bring them along and show them the right way. Okay? So anyway, to wrap up tonight, we're still a few minutes out. We got another story we can run here. It was a tally that was so impressive that President Donald Trump touted it at his State of the Union address. Since May, agents cracking down on the violent gangs terrorizing the working class suburbs of Long Island had swept up 428 gang suspects, including 220 known members of the notorious MS-13. The sweep, called Operation Matador, has been shrouded in secrecy, and for good reason. Federal and state authorities have declined repeated requests from the Associated Press for even basic information made public in most law enforcement operations, such as the names of those arrested and the crimes they are accused of committing. They won't divulge their ages, immigration status, or current whereabouts. And while they say 44 of those arrested have been deported, they refuse to say what happened to the rest, including whether they are even still in custody. Both federal and state officials said releasing more details could endanger the suspect and jeopardize ongoing investigations. The lack of transparency comes amid accusations by immigration rights groups that the government is using unsubstantiated rumors of gang affiliations to detain people who are wholly innocent. Federal immigration judges have already ordered the release of some detainees arrested on suspicion of being MS-13 members when the government couldn't produce any evidence of gang activity. Some parents and activists say some of those included in the tally are innocent teenagers who came to the U.S. as unaccompanied minors. Then they're not innocent. That means they violated federal immigration law. Spending weeks locked in maximum security detention centers based on flimsy and false allegations of gang activity. Civil liberty lawyers say that in some cases their alleged activity was wearing a black t-shirt or making a hand gesture. Hey, if you throw sign, that's good enough. You throw the wrong sign, a gang member will shoot you. So if you throw the right sign, why can't you be arrested as a gang member? They said we have to have a warrant for your arrest, and we don't have to explain anything to you now. Or we have a warrant for your arrest, and we don't have to explain anything to you now. We will tell you when you come with us, one teenager who was asked not to be named because she is afraid of being deported, told the AP in Spanish. Later, they told me I had been associated with gangs. The teenager said she was not a member of MS-13. She said she knew of people in MS-13, as do most people at Brentwood High School, a large high school 45 miles east of New York City. Maybe she talked with some of them in the hallway. Although she was released 2 months after 2 months in detention, she remains worried. I can't defend myself, she said. I can't explain what happened because I don't even know who is accusing me. Immigration attorney Dawn Guidon said she represented about 7 teenagers detained on gang allegations, and at least 2 were deported. One student said all he did was wear blue to school, the color of the gang. Officials said he was associating with known gang members. But the gang member he was associating with sat next to him in math class, Guidon said. If that's associating, then I don't know how to even deal with that. You know, the federal agency leading the crackdown, Homeland Security Investigations, said that of the 428 suspected gang members mentioned in Trump's speech, 216 faced a criminal charge of some sort, but wouldn't say whether those charges had anything to do with gang activity or violence. HSI said the remaining 212 were detained or for suspected immigration law violations, but refused to disclose their names as well. So there you have it, little undercover operation going on. I say that if we can arrest and deport people that need to be arrested and deported, we should. I would caution against the innocent being detained. But all in all, good. As long as their due process and constitutional rights aren't violated, I have no problem with this. So anyway, that's tonight's show, folks. It's been great being back with you this week. I don't see any problems brewing for next week, so I hope to be right back here with you. If you like the show, you should tell your friends. If your friends like the show, you need new ones, but they and you are welcome every Wednesday right here with me on KLRN Radio for the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show. I am the Grouch, your host with the most. Peace. God bless.
Life. Never back down from a challenge or a fight. Nature provides, God gives the rights. We're Americans.